What is up, y'all? Welcome back. Finally going through all my footage from this year. Wanted to start with a kind of recent one and honestly kind of a banger. This is the Rumble at Roebling 2025 Day 2. This was a really good race for me specifically. Really good teamwork today. I think there's a good video in here and a really good result from me. This one's a little bit more of a local race right outside Savannah, Georgia. So we don't have a huge squad here. It's just me from our A squad. And then from the B squad, we've got Ben Desjarnette, we've got Mitch, and we've got Rob. I think 4 is the biggest any team has. I think Velobrew has 4 today. I think we got about 25, 30 starters, something like that. So not a massive field in the 1-2. I think this is a 1-2-3, and then there was also a Cat 3 race or a 3-4 race earlier in the day. So I think one of the only 3s actually doing the race was Mitch from our B squad, who's looking for some points and looking for some experience racing up. Plan for the day is to try to stay on the front foot this entire race. We don't want to be the ones having to chase anything back, so we want to use those numbers to our advantage and make sure we're represented in every move that goes up the road. To that end, Rob got kind of stuck on the front chasing these guys who went early. I'm recognizing he's sort of pulling off to the left there in the green shorts. Everyone swings out wide on this big sweeping corner, and I decide to just send it and try to get across right here. There are a few reasons that it's kind of good timing for me to make this move to try to get across. One is that everyone's on the outside of that turn, and you can see from the course map, it's a big sweeper that's actually more than 180 degrees. And when you got a turn that is that big, that long, that much turning, if you're taking the outside of that turn like the field was, because everyone was trying to flick someone else through to chase, going on the inside is much less distance to cover. So I'm able to pin it on the inside and actually cover less total distance to even just get around that corner. I'm also transitioning from the block headwind. So the point that I launched was right when that wind is at a crosswind, which means that in that one little moment, that is where it would be hardest for someone to get on my draft, because the wind is actually blowing that draft where I'm already on the inside further to the inside. So you actually had to have been like on the grass to the right of me to catch my draft when I launched, and that's ideal for me. I don't want to take anyone across. I want to go across by myself. That also puts me bridging across in the tailwind here. So in the tailwind, the guys up the road who are rotating together don't have as much of an advantage on me because they don't have that much draft. I'm getting here right here. I'm telling them that I just got on. I got to skip a couple pulls because I just bridged all the way across, but give me a couple. Let me skip 2 or 3 and then I'll start working with them. The 3 of us really lock in and start rotating here. I think I'm telling this DDP rider on the right to actually pull off to the outside of the turn so that we can pull through on the shorter line. I was big on the short line. You could see it when I was bridging across. I was really taking the shortest possible line on all those corners, and I guess that's a good time to mention this is a car racing track, so I was really thinking about kind of what the racing line is. Some things about the course, it's a car racing track, which I like for safety. There's like no curbs or anything. It's got a lot of turning, but it's all pretty gentle sweeping, so this race always feels fairly safe as races go. We got a massive block headwind today, though. It was blowing about 20 miles an hour straight directly in our face for this entire long straightaway of the course. The other thing to mention that I think really affected the racing on this day is that it was super, super hot. You can see there's absolutely no shade. There's got to be a clear zone on either side where there are no trees or things that a race car could hit. So there is like zero shade at all. I think the actual temperature was in the mid to high 90s, and then on top of that, you've got the ambient temperature from the asphalt. I think the real feel, quote unquote, real feel from the weather app was like 103 for this race, and they added a feed zone. That entire pit wall you were seeing on the right there, they were allowing people to step over that and hand us up ice socks, which played into the race for me later. So that group of 3 of us stayed out there for about 5 minutes, and then this Piedmont rider, they had missed the move. Piedmont College bridged across, brought a few people with him. I'm looking around and we still have a big gap, but we just have a bigger group here. Realized that I got Mitch. I think he was sitting on trying to catch and kill that move since I was up the road and just got dragged across. Glad to have him now. That's Mitch on the right there. I'm telling him to take a pull and let's get it going. Let's keep it going. Let's motivate this break because we got a good composition now. I think we've got like 2 of 7 in this move. We weren't really trying to stack moves. We were trying to take turns, have one represented in everything. everything, but I think it was probably the right move of Mitch. If people were jumping and the numbers were getting too high of people getting across, for him to just sit on and get a free ride across, or people will realize he's not pulling through and reshuffle the deck. But either way, honestly, this early in the race, we're still only about 10 minutes in right now. I think that I would rather have more guys than less guys if we're going to try to really stick this. And it feels like we are, right? Like we're peeling off, taking pretty good hard turns, but we get chased down, sewn up, grupo compacto, everything is together. And I think this is a beautiful moment for the team right here. Perfect timing from Rob. You see him going, launching a missile on the left there, forcing someone from another team to respond. He gets really good separation because of how slow it was at the front here. It's also the perfect move on his part because Mitch and I were just up the road, so theoretically he should have had the most armchair ride of probably anyone in that group because he had a teammate he wasn't chasing, so he's comparatively nice and fresh to lay a snappy attack on everybody right there when it slows down.
Mitch, now at that moment. Go to that.
Things are kind of back together after Rob's attack, and we got one rider sneaking away. You could hear me telling Mitch, this is the moment you got to snap across to that. Really, if we let that rider get much farther, then we're going to have to start rotating on the front. You can see Rob on the left there has just been brought back. He's at the front, so it's not his to cover. It's not mine to cover. And as I mentioned before, our strategy was to stay on the front foot, meaning that we are in every move. We're not chasing the moves. We are attacking. We're off the front. Mitch launches, gets good separation, really strong move up there. I tell Rob, hey, I got it. I'm gonna manage the front here. You go back to the back and get some rest. Everyone kind of just lets me go to the front, so I'm gonna go to the front. And one, I'm gonna take the entire peloton kind of wide left, like I was talking about here. We're gonna take the long line if everybody wants to be in my draft. And two, I'm not gonna go that fast. I'm gonna kind of just soft pedal. I don't want to stop pedaling. If you go too easy or soft pedal too hard, someone is gonna get that itch and also try to launch, and then that's something you got to manage. So I'm taking the field back to the right now because that's the outside of the next corner. So I'm going to kind of just pedal easy and let Mitch get a good gap now that he's up the road. But that was kind of beautiful timing and teamwork. I think Ben Colby here from Piedmont College in the white bike, white kit there realizes what I'm doing, and he's like, I don't want those guys to get that much separation. So he goes to the front and takes up the pacemaking. Jumping ahead a couple minutes, Mitch's break has just been brought back. He was out there about 7 minutes, lap and some change, and as he got brought back, Ben Colby, Piedmont rider I mentioned a minute ago, launches. There's a preem on this lap, so Ben, I think, unbeknownst to me, is after the preem, and then we got one DDP rider trying to go with him, not quite holding on. I think that is a rider who was in the break with Mitch, so starting to fade. But as I said, we cannot be letting anyone go up the road. Ben is super strong. He was doing the pro races at Tulsa. He's been riding really strong all year. He's a 1. He's also a diesel, so not a guy that you can just let have a gap with no one from your team represented up there. So I launch across to get to him, and right as I get there, we get there at the line, he sits up, and I try to goad him into going, and he basically tells me, I would like to go for a break, but I was pretty much just up here for the tire preem. We're about halfway through the race here, getting into the meat of things, and I can tell at this point I'm starting to feel kind of good, or really other people are starting to get a little bit more ragged, and I feel like myself. I still feel strong and snappy. Got Rebecca Lang in front of me here, women's elite rider, normally races the pro women's crit scene. I believe it was Greenville in 24 that she got up the road in a really small break, and she was without a team at that point, and that was kind of what brought her to my attention. But really strong breakaway rider. On the women's side, racing across with the elite men here to get some experience, some race days, just a fast ride in the legs with us, but definitely a good person to have in one of these little breakaways. And what you can't see behind is that the group is ragged. Everybody is kind of strung out with bike lengths between them. So this was the state of things for a little while, and this is me noticing, like, all right, I'm feeling good. People are starting to take hand ups from all those people on the right there with ice socks. So I think I'm signaling to someone I'm going to need an ice sock here shortly, so get one to me in the coming laps. Here comes another beautiful bit of teamwork from Rob on the right there. Look at him launching up the right side, up the white barrier there. I think he recognized I was just in a little split that had been brought back. Everybody's kind of looking around. We're in this headwind, so things get really, really slow there, especially when people are taking hand-ups, taking ice socks, trying to get themselves situated, and just no one wants to pull in the headwind. We're getting to that point where everyone is tired, everyone is allergic to the headwind. Rob launches, does a great job there. Mitch realizes I don't need to chase that. That's Rob up the road. He peeled off there. You saw him going to the back, and Rob actually gets some really good distance here. This is starting to set up well for the team. A couple laps later, very similar situation. Here's another beautiful one from Rob. You can see Mitch looking around right here. He was just in a move of about 4 guys that got caught, and boom, there goes Rob up the left side right as everybody is taking drinks. We're in that headwind still. Everybody has just taken their hand ups. Brake just got brought back. Everything is kind of coalescing and coming together, slowing down a lot, and that was even better of a place for Rob to get an attack in, because it was, as I mentioned at the beginning, right before this big turn into the crosswind, so it really helped him to get a gap pretty early. Rob only dangled out there solo for about a minute before Lucas Borgman, a rider out of Florida. He was racing with Kingdom Elite at a lot of, I believe, Speed Week and maybe also Sunny King, doubling up, doing the 2-3 race and then some of the pro races also. He launches across to Rob, and this is a point where everybody is finally cooked. Like, you can see there's nobody pedaling hard. People are taking drinks. I'm talking. They're just like, let Lucas go across right now. We're 3/4 of the way into the race. This is a 70-minute race, give or take. I think it was supposed to be 70. It might have been called a little bit shorter, a little bit long. But yeah, we're at that point where, like, everybody has used a lot of matches. I think because each of them sort of snuck away separately, no one's alarm bells are really, really ringing, especially the way Lucas did it. I don't think he even stood up. He kind of just clicked a couple of gears and started sending his way across. But he does get there, and those two spend a lot of time together off the front toward the end of this race. I know I just said it was a long time. It felt like a long time out here in the heat, in the moment. I think everybody is feeling that. In reality, it was actually about 7 minutes that Rob and Lucas were up the road together without anybody. Luckily, the sight lines on this course are really good. I'm looking across, and I noticed that Rob is starting to get distanced by Lucas, and Lucas is pushing on. So I'm kind of waiting for the perfect point to launch, because I cannot let Rob get distanced and me not make it. So we got this one rider, I believe from DDP, trying to bridge across here. I use him as a little island, launch around him, and then I got Rob right there. This rider from Velobrew also trying to get across. I'm going to slot into his draft for a second here. He realizes I'm there. I think he wanted to go across solo. He didn't want to go across with anybody, and I'm like, nope, I got to get across to that. I'm not going to let Lucas roll it at this point. Again, we're trying to be up the road, off the front, represented in whatever, and this is also a perfect moment for me to launch. I was in that crosswind, turning into the headwind, and really the headwind, as long as you're solo, this is where you can make the most. Like, if you put power down, it's kind of similar to a hill. The more power you're putting down, the more speed that is going to net you, which probably sounds like that's always the case, but not necessarily. There are sometimes that you, if you're on a downhill, if you're in a tailwind, you increase your power by 100 watts. It's not going to increase your speed by the same amount as it does when you're going into a headwind or going uphill, something that's inherently slow. So I send it here. I see Lucas looking back at me, and he looks back over his shoulder, sees me. I've got a sizable gap already at this point. I'm kind of in the middle of no man's land. He looks back, sees me coming, and I give him the biggest head nod, yes, like yes, I'm coming. Let's get together. And he doesn't fully sit up, but I think he did start to kind of soft pedal a little bit as I'm like more than halfway across. The group behind isn't chasing, and then he's going hard to get back up to speed here, and I lock in. Basically, it took me that entire start finish straight into the headwind to get here, and I think I tell him like, hey, I am committed to this. I believe we've got like 12 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that left, but we're right at that point of the race where it's far enough out from the sprint that teams like Velobrew, teams like DDP that still have numbers and probably want to set up sprint finish, they're not really thinking about doing that yet. The speed's not high enough yet that it's really hard to get away, but we're also close enough to the finish that I think I could realistically stick it from here with a few hard pulls. So I pretty much much mentally settle into pulls like this. I'm going to try to pull kind of high 300s. For reference, I think my FTP around this point is like 305, 310, somewhere in there. So I'm trying to take my pulls over FTP, about a minute, kind of VO2 max zone, and then also take these inside lines, take the shortest line possible. But yeah, just good steady pulls with Lucas, get locked in, get aero, and make this happen. And he's committed to the same thing here. He pulls through and keeps it going, and this was pretty much what we did for the next 10 minutes. It's amazing how watching these things back is so much different than what you remember, but we were actually out here for about 20 minutes, so it must have been around the 50-minute mark that we launched. But I just wanted to point out here, as we're going into the headwind, we were hitting it a lot harder in this headwind section, again, to just try and keep that momentum, keep things moving forward as quickly as we possibly could. And then on the twisty turny section, where there's a little bit of tailwind, a little bit of tail crosswind, we were keeping it fast. We were keeping it honestly faster if you're looking at the speedometer, 30 miles an hour ish or above on that entire backside section, opposite side of the course from what we're looking at right now. But we were doing less power on the pulls, at least I was, and it felt to me like Lucas was too. I think we really did time it perfectly, where the group was kind of sleeping when we first launched, and we did a couple of laps really hard and the gap blew way out. And then by the time the alarm bells were ringing in the group, we had so much time that we were at, I don't know, a minute 30, 2 minutes up from the group. They would put in a big dig and only get 30 seconds back, 45 seconds back, and that would be a hard effort from a few people together pulling turns, and then they're all burned up or mad that someone else isn't pulling. The group would kind of sit up, the gap would blow back out and repeat. Whereas, you know, if we had only gotten 30 or 45 seconds to begin with, I think that chase would have gotten close enough back to us that things would have been shut down. But we kept the faith and kept things solid and just kept it rolling. There were several times where I was like, dude, let's just stay on it. Let's stay out here. I will keep rolling turns as long as you will. At some point, he told me he was out of food and out of water. I gave him a gel. I think he maybe had some water. I definitely gave him a caffeinated torque gel, and I was like, hey, let's roll it all the way. We can sprint it after the last corner, but let's just get there. And that is what we did. We worked together. No games. That was the only way we were going to be able to do this in this heat, in this wide open course. And we locked in and got it done. Speaking of that final corner, here it is. So we're exiting that final corner for the last time. I'm flicking Lucas through here. I have kind of a sense he's not going to try to sprint me for it, but regardless, I don't want to be an idiot and lose the race at this point when I know I got it in me to win this one. We're still about a minute up from the peloton. We're coming into this headwind, so I know that the sprint is going to be late. He flicks the elbow, and I'm like, yeah, no way. I'm taking over at 250 meters or whatever. Look at him. He looks cooked. I think I said, good job or something. Launch it, give it everything I got left here, and look back and realize I'm home free. I got a little time to sit back and post up. So this is from the team Instagram. I think Rob, after he got brought back, pulled off and was on the side. So yeah, huge. I mean, I won the race. It never happens like that, but I felt really switched on. I felt like the fitness was good. I felt like everyone on the team was really working together this day. I felt like I was good. Heat adaptation, just everything was clicking. I was on the front foot all day, as I said the plan was. So yeah, I'll probably break down. I got a bunch more footage from this year, but wanted to start it off on a high note as I start working my way back through all this stuff. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there, but I appreciate you guys for watching and hanging out. Thanks.